What's up, guys? Patrick here again. We're back with our parable series, and today we're going to be doing the parable of the workers in the vineyard. And you can find this in Matthew 20. It starts right at the beginning, and we'll go all the way through verse 16. So with that, let's get started. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about noon and at about 3 in the afternoon and did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more. Each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "Those who were hired last worked only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous?" So the last will be first, and the first will be last. So that pretty much wraps up the parable of the workers in the field. And there's a couple things, as always, I think we see here. And first and foremost, I think we see that this represents, again, the Father bringing people into the kingdom of heaven. And we see that the Father goes out and he's the one that chooses who comes to work for him, and therefore who gets the reward or payment from the Father, if you want to look at it in the context of this parable. We've also seen, based on the parable of the sower and some other things that Jesus has said throughout this book, that it's based on the nature of their heart. Remember, in the parable of the sower, it was the seed that fell on good soil that produced a crop 160 or 30, 60, and 100 times. The second thing I think we see here is those that have been in the kingdom longer than others should remember not to grumble but rejoice at those who are entering the kingdom. Even if you've been in the kingdom for 12 and a half years and serving the Father for 12 and a half years, it is always good to remember to rejoice that the Father is still bringing people in. Ultimately, I think this parable is both a warning to those in the kingdom and a reminder to those who are seeking the kingdom that the Father has chosen you. And it's a warning in the fact that, like I said, we shouldn't complain about how long we've been serving, but rejoice that we did receive the gift after all, and that through perseverance our internal being is growing stronger and is becoming more like the Father, and that the Father is not unfair. He promises peace and freedom. And then those who are seeking, remember the Father has chosen you, and He has called you, and that the reward will come as you continue to work on growing the kingdom and growing your internal being to be more like the Father. As always, guys, I appreciate you coming to my channel and watching these videos, or I guess listening to these videos. And to anyone who has heard these words, I pray you be blessed in all that you do.